Humanity's edge. The galaxy had long been a place of order. The Elysian Accord, a coalition of ancient and advanced species, maintained peace through rigid laws and the overwhelming might of their fleets. For millennia, the Accord's bureaucratic machine ensured stability across countless systems, ensuring no species rose too far above the rest. Then humanity arrived, a young, reckless, and relentless species that defied every expectation. Humanity had clawed its way out of a hostile cradle, thriving against natural disasters, wars, and the brink of extinction more than once. When the Accord finally noticed them, it was almost too late. Earth's colonies spread like wildfire, their ships crude but numerous, their people unafraid of the unknown. They're primitives. Counselor Velex scoffed, his silver-scaled frills twitching with amusement, barely out of their gravity well, and they think they can claim the stars? Admiral Kirik, a war-seasoned Lorvan, frowned. Primitives don't reverse-engineer alien technology in a decade, Counselor. He gestured to the holomap of the Orion arm. They've established footholds in sectors we haven't touched in centuries. They thrive where others falter. Velex waved a claw dismissively. Their ships are laughable, their weapons, childish. What threat could they pose? They adapt. Kirik growled. And they fight like they have nothing to lose. The first real clash came at the border system of Orion 3, humanity's fleet, cobbled together from mismatched parts and salvaged tech, faced the might of an Accord battle group. The Accord's ships gleamed with perfection, sleek, symmetrical, and powered by centuries of refinement. By contrast, humanity's vessels looked like they had been built in a scrapyard. The Accord expected an easy victory. Instead, they encountered chaos. Captain Alina Drake stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her brow furrowed as alarms blared. All ships, initiate scatter protocol, break formation and engage at will. Her first officer, Lieutenant Kale, hesitated. Scatter protocol? Ma'am, that's, Suicidal? Alina interrupted, a wry smile tugging at her lips. Only if you're on the wrong side. Trust me, Kale, they're not ready for this. The Resolute veered off, its engines flaring brightly. Around it, other human ships broke formation, zigzagging unpredictably. The Accord's rigid tactics struggled to adjust as the human fleet swarmed like a hive of angry insects. Missiles launched in chaotic waves, lasers fired from unexpected angles. Human ships rammed Accord vessels, sacrificing themselves to break through shields. What the Accord saw as desperation, humanity called ingenuity. The battle ended with the Accord retreating for the first time in centuries. Reports flooded back to the Elysian Council, each one more troubling than the last. Humanity's strategies defied logic, their determination bordered on madness, and their ability to repurpose discarded tech into weapons of war was unmatched. Worse, humanity didn't just survive, they thrived on conflict. Every battle taught them something new, each skirmish left them stronger. The Elysian Accord realized too late that humanity had a weapon no other species possessed, an unyielding drive to push past their limits. We underestimated them, Kirik said, his voice heavy. The Admiral stood before the council, his uniform scorched from his latest defeat. They fight like cornered beasts, but they think like tacticians. Every loss we inflict only sharpens them. Velex sneered. Then we crush them before they can sharpen further. Kirik shook his head. You don't understand. Crushing them isn't an option. Humanity doesn't break. They bend, they adapt, and then they strike harder than before. If we continue this war, we risk creating the most dangerous force this galaxy has ever seen. Years passed, and humanity's reputation grew. What began as a species on the edge of extinction turned into one on the edge of dominance. They fought not for conquest, but for survival, and in doing so, they uncovered strengths the galaxy had never seen. On the battlefield, a single human soldier could turn the tide with sheer ingenuity. In diplomacy, their fiery speeches rallied allies from unexpected places. In technology, their unorthodox methods pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible. Humanity's edge wasn't their technology or their numbers, it was their spirit, the unshakable belief that the impossible was just a challenge waiting to be overcome. And in a galaxy ruled by the stagnant and the ancient, that edge changed everything. Humanity's edge, the shattered Accord, the Elysian Accord, once the unchallenged rulers of the galaxy, lay fractured. Humanity's relentless advance had shattered its illusion of invincibility. The coalition's member species, once united in fear of change, now squabbled over how to respond to the human threat. Some sought peace, others revenge, and a few quietly slipped away, unwilling to risk further conflict. Meanwhile, humanity continued to expand, carving out a place for itself among the stars. But the victory came at a cost. The edge of chaos. Admiral Alina Drake stood on the bridge of the Resolute, now an aging but legendary battleship. The scars of countless battles marred its hull, a testament to humanity's defiance. She stared at the holographic map of the galaxy, her expression grim. "How bad is it?" she asked. Lieutenant Kale, now her trusted second-in-command, responded with a heavy sigh. "The Accord's remnants are forming alliances with rogue factions. They're desperate, Alina, and desperation makes them dangerous." Alina folded her arms, her mind racing. Desperation also makes them sloppy, but if they unite against us, Kale shook his head. "We've already seen what happens when they try. They can't work together, not like we can." Alina's lips pressed into a thin line. "That was true before, but now, they're learning from us, adapting. The question is, can we stay ahead of them?" A new kind of war. On the far edges of human-controlled space, a colony on the planet Vassra Prime went silent. It was a small outpost, barely a blip on the galactic map, but its strategic location made its loss troubling. Captain Elias Ward led the response team, a mix of hardened Marines and civilian engineers. As their dropship descended through Vassra's atmosphere, the once thriving colony came into view. Smoke rose from the ruins, and strange symbols were scrawled across the buildings. "This wasn't pirates," Elias muttered, gripping the armrest of his seat. "This was coordinated." The Marines fanned out, weapons drawn. As Elias examined the damage, they found no bodies, no survivors, only a chilling message etched into the colony's central square: "You taught us to fight. Now, we'll teach you to fear." The shadow of humanity's edge. The Accord's remnants weren't the only threat. In humanity's relentless expansion, they had uncovered something ancient and terrible. On a forgotten moon in the Gamma Triax system, a research team unearthed artifacts unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, obelisks that hummed with an otherworldly energy, whispering in a language no one could decipher. Dr. Lianyu, the lead scientist on the project, sent an urgent message to the nearest fleet. "We found something alive. It's not from this galaxy, maybe not even this universe." Before reinforcements could arrive, the moon went dark. When a scouting ship reached the site, they found nothing but silence, and an obelisk etched with the same symbols seen on Vassra Prime. The implications were clear: humanity's rise had awakened something far older than the Accord. A fragile alliance. Back on Earth, the United Human Coalition debated their next move. Some called for caution, urging humanity to consolidate its holdings and fortify its defenses. Others demanded an aggressive push to wipe out the Accord's remnants before they could regroup. Admiral Drake addressed the Council with characteristic bluntness. "We can't fight a war on two fronts. If these artifacts are as dangerous as you believed, we'll need every ally we can get, even if that means working with the Accord." The room erupted into chaos. The thought of allying with their former oppressors was unthinkable to many, but Alina stood firm. "We're at humanity's edge, people. This is where we prove what makes us different. Not our weapons, not our technology, our ability to adapt. If we don't, we'll fall just like the Accord did." The battle for tomorrow. A fragile truce was brokered between humanity and the Accord's surviving members. Together, they formed a joint task force to investigate the obelisks and confront the shadowy threat rising in the galaxy's forgotten corners. But trust was scarce, and betrayal loomed at every turn. On the front lines, Captain Elias Ward led a mixed crew of humans and aliens into uncharted space. Their mission: track the source of the obelisks and uncover the truth behind the symbols. As they delved deeper, they found themselves facing horrors that defied explanation: ships twisted into grotesque forms, their crews driven mad by the obelisk's influence. Each encounter pushed the fragile alliance closer to collapse. But humanity, as always, refused to yield. The edge holds. The final confrontation came at the galactic core, where the largest obelisk stood, a towering monolith pulsing with dark energy. Admiral Drake's fleet, reinforced by Accord ships, faced an enemy unlike any they had fought before: fleets of the corrupted, driven by an intelligence that sought to consume everything. In the battle's chaos, humanity's ingenuity shone once more. Using tactics the enemy could not anticipate, risky maneuvers, improvised weapons, and sheer audacity, they turned the tide. As the obelisk shattered, the enemy's fleet dissolved into nothingness. But the victory came with a warning: this was only the beginning. Epilogue. Back on Earth, Admiral Drake reflected on the battle. Humanity had survived yet another trial, but the galaxy was forever changed. The Accord was gone, replaced by something new, a coalition built on necessity rather than fear. And humanity stood at its edge, ready to face whatever came next. Hashtag humanity's edge, the frontier war. With the threat of the ancient obelisks neutralized, at least for now, the galaxy was in turmoil. The fragile alliance between humanity and the remnants of the Elysian Accord held together, but barely. Trust was a scarce resource, and whispers of dissent echoed on both sides. Humanity's meteoric rise had inspired both awe and fear, and as they continued to expand, they found themselves on the precipice of yet another conflict. This time, it wasn't an ancient enemy or a galactic coalition standing in their way. It was something far more dangerous, themselves. A new frontier. The newly mapped frontier worlds were a treasure trove of resources. Planets brimming with rare metals, untapped energy reserves, and fertile land were discovered every day. Humanity's colonies spread outward like wildfire, competing with the Accord's remnants for control. But with opportunity came greed. Independent factions, some human, some alien, saw the chaos as their chance to seize power. Smugglers, warlords, and rogue mercenaries thrived in the lawless border regions. Even the United Human Coalition struggled to maintain order as its reach stretched thin. The Red Meridian conflict. It began on the planet Karsus, a world on the Red Meridian, a contested region on the edge of human and Accord-controlled space. Karsus was a strategic linchpin, its vast deposits of trionium, an element critical for advanced weaponry, making it a prize neither side could ignore. Colonel Diana Vance, a battle-hardened leader, was sent to secure the planet for humanity. Her orders were clear: hold Karsus at all costs. We're not just fighting for resources here, Vance told her troops, her voice firm as they prepared for battle. We're fighting for the edge. If we lose Karsus, we lose the future. The Accord, unwilling to relinquish its claim, sent their best strategist, General Velix Tharun, to oppose her. The two forces clashed in a brutal, protracted war that left cities in ruins and the land scarred. The Phantom Threat. Amid the chaos, reports began to surface of a third force operating in the Red Meridian. Refugees and survivors spoke of ships with no markings, appearing without warning and vanishing just as quickly. These phantom fleets attacked human and Accord forces indiscriminately, leaving no survivors. Captain Elias Ward, now commanding the stealth cruiser Vigilant, was tasked with investigating the mysterious force. His findings were unsettling. "They're using our technology," Elias reported in a secure transmission to Admiral Drake. "Human designs, but twisted, modified. Someone out there is building a fleet, and they don't care who gets in their way." Enemies within. The truth soon emerged: a breakaway faction of humanity had gone rogue, calling themselves the Sovereign Union. They rejected the coalition's authority and sought to carve out their own empire in the stars. The Sovereign Union's leader, a charismatic and ruthless former admiral named Caleb Strain, declared war on both humanity and the Accord. The coalition has grown weak, bending to the will of alien overlords. Strain declared in a broadcast that spread across the galaxy, "We will not bow. We are the true heirs of the stars, and we will take what is rightfully ours." The Sovereign Union's forces were powerful and highly disciplined. Using stolen technology and ruthless tactics, they began capturing frontier worlds at an alarming rate. Their rise threatened to collapse the fragile balance of power. A desperate alliance. Faced with a three-front war, Admiral Elena Drake once again stepped into the breach. She brokered an uneasy truce with General Velix Tharun, convincing the Accord to join forces with humanity against the Sovereign Union. "We don't have to like each other," Elena said during the tense negotiations, "but if we don't work together, there won't be a galaxy left to fight over." The Siege of Karsus. The final battle for the Red Meridian took place on Karsus, where the Sovereign Union had established a massive stronghold. Humanity and the Accord launched a joint offensive, combining their fleets into an armada unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Colonel Vance led the ground assault, while Captain Ward's Vigilant spearheaded a daring infiltration of the Sovereign Union's flagship. Admiral Drake commanded the combined fleet, coordinating the battle from orbit. The fighting was brutal. Sovereign forces fought with fanatical determination, their advanced ships and weapons pushing the Allied forces to the brink. But humanity's ingenuity, and their ability to work with their former enemies, proved decisive. In the end, Caleb Strain was captured, and the Sovereign Union's fleet was shattered. But the victory came at a high cost. Thousands of lives were lost, and the Red Meridian was left in ruins. Epilogue. The edge holds. The war had been won, but the galaxy remained a volatile place. Humanity had proven once again that they could hold their own against any enemy, alien or human, but the cracks within their own society were growing harder to ignore. Admiral Drake, weary but resolute, addressed the coalition's leaders. "The edge isn't just about survival, she said. "It's about what we do when we survive. If we lose sight of that, we'll tear ourselves apart." As humanity rebuilt, they stood once again at the edge of the unknown, facing new challenges, new enemies, and the unrelenting march of progress. ###humanity's edge, the whispering dark. The galaxy was still reeling from the Sovereign Union's rebellion. Karsus and the Red Meridian had been secured, but the scars of war ran deep. Humanity and the Accord's fragile alliance held, but tensions simmered just below the surface. As the galaxy rebuilt, whispers of a new, far greater threat began to spread, rumors of strange phenomena in uncharted space, vanishing colonies, and an unseen force lurking in the dark. Admiral Alina Drake had hoped for a period of peace. Instead, she found herself staring at reports of the inexplicable. The vanishing fleet. It started with a convoy of 15 supply ships bound for the frontier. Escorted by a trio of heavy cruisers, the fleet passed through the Eridan Nebula, a quiet, uneventful region. The convoy never arrived. Weeks later, a lone distress signal from one of the cruisers was intercepted. Admiral Drake sat in the dimly lit briefing room, the signal playing on a loop. The voice was panicked, barely coherent. They came from nowhere, we couldn't see them, the stars went out, then static. Pirates. Kale, now a seasoned commander, asked. Drake shook her head. No pirate has the tech to take down 3 cruisers without a trace. Then what? Kale pressed. Drake's expression was grim. That's what we're going to find out. Into the nebula. The Resolute, now upgraded with cutting-edge stealth and sensor technology, was dispatched to investigate. Captain Elias Ward joined the mission, his stealth cruiser Vigilant serving as the advanced scout. The Eridan Nebula was a maze of gas clouds and gravitational anomalies, a perfect hiding place for anyone, or anything. As the fleet moved deeper into the nebula, strange readings began to appear. Ship sensors picked up energy signatures that flickered in and out, as if they weren't entirely real. Crew members reported hearing faint whispers when alone, though no one could explain their source. It's just the nebula messing with us, Kale said, trying to reassure the crew. But his own uneasy expression betrayed his doubt. The first encounter. 3 days into the mission, the fleet stumbled upon the remains of the missing convoy. The ships were eerily intact, drifting in silence. No signs of battle, no damage, just empty, lifeless hulls. When boarding teams entered, they found the ships abandoned. Equipment was untouched, food still on plates, but every crew member was gone. On one of the cruisers, they found a single message scrawled across the walls of the command deck. The dark sees all. Before they could investigate further, the fleet was attacked. The Shadow Fleet. They came without warning. Ships that seemed to shimmer and fade, their forms barely distinguishable from the nebula itself. Their weapons were unlike anything the fleet had encountered, beams of energy that bypassed shields entirely, striking directly at hulls. Drake's fleet fought back, but their enemy moved with unnatural precision, anticipating every maneuver. The Vigilant managed to disable one of the enemy ships, but as Ward's crew moved to board it, the ship disintegrated into a cloud of black mist, leaving nothing behind. The Whispering Dark. As the fleet retreated to regroup, Drake received an encrypted message from an unexpected source, the enigmatic Dr. Lien Yu, who had disappeared after her research on the obelisks. The message was brief. It's not over. The obelisks were warnings, not weapons. Meet me on Bastion Prime. Bastion Prime was a long-abandoned Accord research station on the edge of the galaxy. With no other leads, Drake made the call to rendezvous with you. When they arrived, they found her in the station's archives, surrounded by ancient data banks and alien artifacts. What are we dealing with, Doctor? Drake asked. Yu's face was pale, her eyes haunted. We called it the Whispering Dark. It's not a fleet, not a species. It's a presence. A consciousness older than this galaxy, maybe older than time. The obelisks were meant to keep it at bay, but when you shattered them, she hesitated. You opened the door. The race against time. You explained that the Whispering Dark wasn't a conventional enemy. It operated on a level beyond understanding, manipulating reality itself. Its ships were extensions of its will, and it sought to consume everything, light, life, and even thought. If it spreads, it won't just end us, you warned. It'll erase us. Like we were never here. The only hope was to re-establish the obelisk's network, using their residual energy to push the Whispering Dark back. But the process required massive energy, enough to rival the output of a star. The closest suitable source was Karsus, still recovering from the war. Drake knew the risks. Activating the obelisks could save the galaxy, or destroy Karsus and everyone on it. The final stand. The Whispering Dark's fleet grew bolder, launching attacks on major population centers. Humanity and the Accord had no choice but to put aside their differences once again, forming a united defense. Meanwhile, the Resolute and Vigilant led a daring mission to Karsus to activate the planet's dormant obelisk. The battle for Karsus was the most desperate yet. The Whispering Dark's forces surrounded the planet, their ships blocking any approach. Ward's Vigilant led a suicidal diversion, drawing enemy fire while Drake's team worked to bring the obelisk online. At the last moment, as the fleet was on the verge of collapse, the obelisk activated. A wave of energy surged across the system, obliterating the Whispering Dark's forces and sealing the rift that had allowed it to enter the galaxy. Epilogue: The cost of victory. The Whispering Dark was pushed back, but at a tremendous cost. Karsus was left uninhabitable, its people evacuated in the final hours. The galaxy had been saved, but the price of survival was etched into the hearts of everyone who fought. Drake stood on the bridge of the Resolute, staring at the empty space where Karsus once thrived. "We held the edge," she said softly. "But for how long?" The galaxy had won a reprieve, but the Whispering Dark was still out there, waiting. Humanity, as always, stood on the edge of the unknown, ready to fight, to adapt, and to endure. #### Humanity's Edge, the Silent Rift. The galaxy celebrated its fragile reprieve from the Whispering Dark, but the scars ran deep. Karsus, a beacon of hope and resilience, was now a wasteland. Humanity and the Accord rebuilt cautiously, aware that the Whispering Dark was merely held at bay, not destroyed. Yet as fleets patrolled the edges of known space, new fears emerged. Something was changing in the galaxy, subtle distortions in space-time, stars vanishing without explanation, and strange gravitational anomalies appearing in distant systems. At the heart of it all was the Silent Rift, a mysterious void where the laws of physics seemed to unravel. An unlikely discovery. The Silent Rift had been discovered by accident. A deep space mining vessel, the Prospector's Promise, went off course while chasing a rare mineral deposit. Its crew transmitted a single, chilling message before contact was lost: "The stars are gone, we're not alone." When a rescue team arrived weeks later, they found the ship adrift, like the convoy at the Eridan Nebula. It was intact but eerily silent. The only clue was a strange artifact retrieved from the ship's cargo hold, an object of unknown origin, humming with faint energy. Admiral Alina Drake and Dr. Lian were called to examine the artifact. You, now the galaxy's leading expert on ancient relics, looked pale as she studied it. "This isn't like the obelisks, ***, she said. It's a key, to something older." The Rift Expedition. Determined to uncover the truth, Drake assembled a joint expedition with the Accord to venture into the Silent Rift. Leading the mission was Captain Elias Ward aboard the Vigilant, accompanied by a fleet of science vessels, military escorts, and deep space explorers. The rift itself defied explanation, a vast, lightless void where even the brightest stars faded to nothing. As the fleet crossed its threshold, sensors began to fail, and strange phenomena unfolded. Time seemed to distort, crew members reported vivid hallucinations, and the ships themselves groaned under an unseen pressure. A hidden world. At the rift center, they found what no one had expected: a planet, a solitary world, shrouded in a shifting haze, orbiting a black sun. Scans revealed an immense structure on the surface, a sprawling city of cyclopean towers made from materials that didn't register on any known spectrum. Dr. Yu was astounded. "This isn't just a world, it's a fortress. Something was built here, to contain something else." Ward and a small team landed to investigate. The atmosphere was breathable, but the air was heavy, oppressive. The city seemed abandoned, yet every step felt watched. They uncovered alien scripts etched into the walls, some of which you could decipher. The message chilled them to their cores. "This is the last door. Beyond it, silence eternal." The door opens. As the exploration continued, the artifact from the Prospector's Promise began to react violently, emitting bursts of energy that destabilized the fleet's systems. You realized too late what was happening. The artifact wasn't just a key, it was a beacon, and bringing it to the rift had activated something dormant. The ground trembled, and the city began to come alive. Lights flickered in the alien towers, and massive gates opened to reveal a chasm filled with pulsing black energy. From within, shapes began to emerge, forms that defied logic, creatures that seemed to shift between dimensions. "We need to leave," ***, Ward shouted, as the first of the creatures lunged for his team. The battle for the rift. As the alien entities swarmed from the chasm, the fleet in orbit was forced into a desperate battle. The creatures were immune to conventional weapons, their forms dispersing and reforming as though they were made of living shadows. Drake, commanding from the Resolute, ordered the fleet to fall back. "We can't hold them here, ***, she said. "We need to seal the rift." You proposed a risky solution: detonate the artifact within the chasm. using its energy to collapse the rift, but doing so would likely destroy the planet, and anyone left on its surface. Ward volunteered to stay behind, leading a team to deliver the artifact into the heart of the chasm. We've come this far, ***, he said. We finished the job. Sacrifice and survival. The final moments on the planet were a blur of chaos. Ward and his team fought their way through the alien city, evading the creatures while carrying the unstable artifact. As they reached the chasm, the ground began to crumble, and the creatures grew more aggressive. With seconds to spare, Ward activated the artifact and transmitted a final message: tell them, humanity doesn't run. The explosion was blinding, the chasm collapsed, the creatures disintegrated, and the rift began to close. The fleet barely escaped as the planet was consumed in a vortex of energy. Epilogue, a fragile piece. The silent rift was gone, but its legacy remained. The galaxy had been saved from a new threat, but questions lingered. What had been sealed within the chasm? Was it truly defeated, or merely delayed? And how many other doors might exist in the vast, uncharted reaches of space? Drake stood on the bridge of the Resolute, staring out at the void. We've held the edge again, ***, she said quietly, but the edge keeps moving. Humanity and the Accord vowed to strengthen their alliance, recognizing that their survival depended on cooperation. But in the shadowy corners of the galaxy, new anomalies began to stir, and the stars whispered of dangers yet to come. Humanity, as always, stood ready, on the edge of the unknown.